Have you ever just burst into tears, man, completely out of the blue? No reason you could put your finger on? 1 minute you're totally fine. The next, tears are just streaming down your face, and you're thinking, what on earth is going on with me? Shuman, maybe it happened while you were driving, or watching a show that wasn't even remotely sad, or just lying in bed at night when everything was quiet and still. If this sounds like you, then I really need you to hear this, right now. There is nothing wrong with you. What you experienced wasn't weakness. It wasn't depression. It wasn't a sign that you're broken in some way. What happened to you has a profound explanation, one that very few people truly grasp. And today, I'm going to reveal exactly what's happening inside you when those unexplained tears, well, they come. You're definitely not alone in this, you know. Millions of people all over the world experience this same thing. They cry without knowing why. They feel these huge waves of emotion rising up from somewhere deep inside, emotions they can't quite name or connect to any specific event. And honestly, most of them think something's wrong with them. Most of them feel ashamed. Most of them hide it. But what if I told you that this crying is actually one of the most powerful signs that something beautiful is happening within you? What if this isn't a symptom of something going wrong, but evidence of something going profoundly right? Eckhart Tolle experienced this himself. Before he became the spiritual teacher known worldwide, he spent years in deep depression and anxiety. He described living in an almost constant state of dread, interrupted by periods of, well, suicidal thoughts. His mind was his enemy, his own thoughts relentlessly tormenting him. And then, one night, something extraordinary happened. He woke up in the middle of the night, heard a bird singing outside his window, and suddenly tears came to his eyes. Not tears of sadness, tears of something else entirely, something he had never felt before. He looked at the light filtering through the curtains and suddenly he realized that this soft glow was love itself. Everything was different. Everything was new. He later described that moment as the beginning of his awakening. The tears weren't a sign of breakdown, they were a sign of a breakthrough. But here's what most people don't understand, and what I'm about to explain to you here in detail. There are actually 3 different types of unexplained crying that people experience. Each one has a completely different cause. Each one serves a completely different purpose. And knowing which type you're experiencing changes everything about how you should respond to it. The first type is what psychologists call stress release tears. This happens when your body has been storing emotions for so long that they need to come out, whether you consciously want them to or not. Your nervous system has been holding tension, suppressing feelings, keeping everything under control for days, weeks, months, sometimes years, and eventually, your body just says, enough is enough. It releases that pressure through tears. Think about what your life has been like lately. Have you been under a lot of stress? Have you been taking care of everyone else while neglecting yourself? Have you been pushing through exhaustion because you felt you had no choice? Have you been pretending everything is fine when inside you know it's not? Your body keeps score. Every unexpressed emotion, every swallowed anger, every grief you didn't have time to feel, it all accumulates in your physical system. Your muscles hold tension. Your nervous system stays in a state of chronic activation. Your hormones remain elevated, and at some point the pressure becomes too great. Research has shown something fascinating about this type of crying. When you cry in this way, your body isn't just releasing water, it's releasing stress hormones. Studies have found that emotional tears contain cortisol, adrenaline, and other chemicals that build up in your body. When you're under stress, your body is literally flushing out the physical residue of your emotional experiences. This is why you often feel better after crying. Even when you didn't know why you were crying in the first place, your body knew what it needed to do. Your conscious mind just hadn't caught up yet. I want you to think about something right now. When was the last time that you gave yourself permission to feel? When was the last time you didn't have to be strong for someone else? When was the last time you allowed yourself to be fully human, fully vulnerable, fully in your emotions, without judgment? For most of us, that time was long ago. And the unexplained crying is your body demanding that you return to that place. It's demanding that you become human again. But here's where it gets more interesting, and this is what most people never discovers about their tears. The second type of unexplained crying is what Eckhart Tolle would call the dissolving of the pain body. This is something much deeper than ordinary emotional release. This isn't just stress leaving your system. This is old, ancient pain finally finding its way to the surface. And if you're someone who is going through any kind of inner growth journey, this might be exactly what is happening to you. Let me explain what this means as in practical terms. Throughout your entire life and from the moment you were born, you've accumulated emotional pain. Some of it came from obvious experiences, things you remember clearly, traumas you can name and describe. When your folks split up, losing someone close, the relationship that shattered your trust, the failure that made you feel worthless. These are the pains you know about, but much of your accumulated pain came from smaller moments, moments that you forgot consciously, but that your body remembers perfectly. Every time someone made you feel not good enough, every time you felt rejected and didn't understand why, every time you felt abandoned, even in subtle ways, every time you were misunderstood by someone who was supposed to love you, every moment of fear that you pushed down instead of feeling, every time you betrayed yourself to please someone else, all of this accumulates inside you, year after year, layer after layer, pain on top of pain. And it doesn't just sit there and passively, it becomes an energy field and within you. Tolle calls this accumulated pain the pain body. The pain body lives inside you, like a separate entity. Normally, it stays dormant. You're not aware of it directly, but it influences everything. It influences how you react to situations. It influences what triggers you. It influences the patterns you repeat in relationship. It influences the thoughts that arise in your mind. And here's the crucial part. Sometimes, especially as you embark on your inner growth journey, as you start questioning those old habits that just don't serve you anymore, as you seek out something deeper, something more meaningful, that pain body, that shadow self starts to, dissolve. Think of it like this, that old pain locked away in your cells, in your nervous system, swirling around in your energetic field. It starts to release. It starts bubbling up, rising to the surface. It begins to leave your system for good, and when that happens, you cry. Not because something sad happened today, not because of anything you can put your finger on in your present life, but because something sad happened years ago, maybe decades, maybe even in ways you can't consciously remember. The stress release tears? They're the pain leaving your body. They're old wounds, finally healing. They're ancient grief that was never allowed to complete its journey, finally finding the exit. Now, if you've been experiencing this kind of crying, I want you to understand something crucial. You are not getting worse. You are actually getting better. The fact that this pain is coming up, that it's surfacing, means it's finally ready to leave. After years of being trapped inside you, it's finally finding its way out. This isn't a sign of regression, it's a sign of progress. This is your system, finally becoming safe enough, strong enough, aware enough to process what it just couldn't handle before. Remember those 3 types I mentioned earlier? We've covered 2. But the third type, that's the most profound of all. And it might be exactly what you need to hear right now. The third type of unexplained crying, that's what happens when your consciousness starts to reconnect with something much bigger than your individual self. Think about what Eckhart Tolle experienced that morning. hearing the birds singing, seeing the light through the curtains. It wasn't sadness, and it wasn't pain releasing. It was awe. It was a recognition. It was the soul crying, tears of homecoming. There's a moment in the inner growth journey when you suddenly feel connected to life itself, not as some abstract idea, not as something you read about in a book, but as a living reality that you experience directly. You feel the aliveness in everything around you. You sense the presence that underlies all existence. You recognize yourself in everything you see. And this feeling, it's so overwhelming, so beautiful, so much bigger than your small self and its small worries, that tears come. These aren't tears of suffering. They are tears of grace. They're tears of remembering who you really are. Eckhart Tolle talks about looking at light coming through a window and suddenly realizing that this soft luminosity was love itself. He writes that tears came to his eyes right then and there, not because he was sad, but because he was finally seeing clearly for the first time. After years of mental suffering, years of identifying with his thoughts and emotions, he suddenly saw the truth. And the truth was a beautiful beyond words. If you've ever cried while looking at a sunset and couldn't quite explain why the colors moved you so deeply, if you've ever felt tears welling up when holding a newborn baby and feeling the sheer miracle of new life in your arms, if you've ever wept while listening to a piece of music that touched something so deep inside you that language just couldn't reach it, if you've ever cried at the simple beauty of being alive, you've experienced this third type of crying. These aren't tears that need to be fixed. These are tears that need to be honored. They're evidence that you're not as asleep as you thought. They're proof that something in you recognizes the sacred, even when your mind just can't explain it. Now, you might be wondering at which type applies to you, and the truth is, you might be experiencing all three at different times, or you might be experiencing all three at once, woven together in a single moment of unexplained tears. But here's what matters most. In all three cases, the crying isn't the problem. The crying is the solution. The crying is your system doing exactly what it needs to do: to heal, to release, to expand, to transform. The crying isn't evidence of dysfunction. It's evidence of perfect functioning. So, why do we feel so ashamed of it? The answer? We live in a culture that's taught us to fear our emotions. From the time we were kids, we were told to stop crying. We were told that big boys don't cry and that crying is for babies, that we need to toughen up and get over it. We were given the message, sometimes directly, sometimes through subtle social cues, that emotional expression is weakness. We've been told that crying is failure, that real strength means keeping it together at all times, that emotional control is the highest virtue, that the goal of life is to feel nothing that might disrupt our productivity or make other people uncomfortable. But this belief, it's created an epidemic of unexpressed pain. This belief has created millions of people walking around with years of accumulated grief, anger, sadness, and fear locked inside them with no way out. This belief has created a disconnection from our own humanity. The truth is that crying is one of the most powerful healing mechanisms your body possesses. It's not a design flaw, it's a feature. It's built into your system for a reason. Research from neuroscience confirms this. When you cry, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the one responsible for rest and recovery. This helps your body return from a state of stress to a state of calm. You release endorphins, your natural pain-relieving hormones. You create a physiological shift that promotes healings on every level. Your body is incredibly intelligent. It knows what it needs, and sometimes what it needs is to cry. But I want to take you deeper now, because understanding why you cry is only the beginning. What matters even more is how you respond when it happens. And this is where most people make crucial mistakes that actually prolong their suffering. Most people make one of two mistakes when unexplained crying occurs. The first mistake, fighting it. They feel the tears coming, and they clamp down. They hold their breath, they tense their jaw and their shoulders. They blink rapidly as trying to push the tears back. They tell themselves to get it together, to be strong, to not fall apart. Every time you do this, you're not solving the problem, you're adding to it. The pain that wanted to release gets pushed back into storage. It doesn't disappear. It goes back into your body, where it waits for the next opportunity to emerge, and it accumulates interest. It grows heavier, and eventually, it'll come back even stronger than before. Fighting your tears is like trying to hold back a river with your bare hands. You might succeed for a moment, but the pressure keeps building. And when the dam finally breaks, the flood is far more destructive than it needed to be. The second mistake, dramatizing it. This happens when folks cry and then create this whole elaborate story around it. They start asking themselves, oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I so broken? I must be depressed. Something must be terribly wrong. I need to figure out exactly what's causing this. I need to analyze every aspect of my life to find the source. When you do that, you turn a simple stress release into a complex mental drama, the crying itself. That was natural and healthy. Your body was just doing its job, but the story you wrap around it, that becomes its own source of suffering. The thoughts you generate about the crying cause more pain than the crying ever did. Eckhart Tolle teaches a third way, a middle path, between repression and dramatization, and this is what I want you to practice. The next time stress release tears come to you, when you feel the tears rising, do not fight them and do not analyze them. Simply let them come while staying present. This means allowing the emotion to move through you without resistance. Feel it fully in your body. Notice where the sensation lives. Is it in your chest, in your throat, your stomach, your eyes? Feel it without trying to change it, fix it, or understand it. And most importantly, do not identify with it. You are not the crying. You are the awareness, and that is observing the crying. You are the space in which this emotional release is occurring. You are the sky, not the clouds passing through. When you can hold this perspective, something remarkable happens. The crying comes, releases what it needs to release, and passes through you cleanly. It does not get stuck. It does not create new suffering. It does not leave residue. It simply flows through and goes, like a wave washing over the shore, and then receding back into the ocean. This is what Eckhart Tolle means when he talks about allowing emotions rather than resisting them. He's not saying you should wallow in negative feelings. He's not saying you should create stories about your emotions or use them as justification for behavior. He's saying you should let them pass through you, like weather passing through the sky. The sky is never harmed by storms. It doesn't matter how fierce the winds are, how heavy the rain falls, how loud the thunder roars. The sky itself remains unchanged, vast, open, peaceful. It allows everything to pass through, without resistance. You are that sky. You are the awareness that remains peaceful, even when emotional storms arise. This is your true nature. And when you remember this, crying becomes something completely different. It becomes a sacred release, purification, a letting go of what no longer serves you. If this video has helped you understand something important about yourself, if it has given you permission to feel what you are feeling without shame, consider showing your support through super thanks. It helps me continue creating content that serves people on this inner growth journey. Every contribution, no matter how small, tells me that this message matters to you and helps me bring it to more people who need to hear it. Now let me give you something practical to take with you, a simple practice you can use. The next time stress release tears come, the next time you find yourself crying for no apparent reason, here is exactly what to do, step by step. First, stop whatever you are doing, if you safely can. Find a quiet place where you can be alone for a few minutes. You don't need a long time, just a few minutes of uninterrupted space where no one will ask you what is wrong or try to fix you. Second, sit or lie down in a comfortable position and close your eyes. Place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Feel the warmth of your own touch. Feel your body breathing. This simple gesture tells your nervous system that you are safe, that you are present, that you are here for yourself. Third, give the crying permission to come fully. Say to yourself, either silently or out loud, I allow this. I welcome this. This is my body healing. This is old pain finding its way home. I trust this process. Fourth, as the tears come, keep part of your attention on your breathing, not controlling it, not forcing it to be any particular way, just noticing it. Feel the breath moving in, feel the breath moving out. This keeps you anchored in the present moment, rather than getting lost in the emotion or the stories about the emotion. Fifth, when the crying begins to subside naturally, stay still for a few more moments. Do not rush to get up and return to activity. Feel the space that has been created inside you. Notice how much lighter your chest feels. Notice the quiet that follows the storm. This is the peace that was always there, underneath the pain. Sixth, when you feel ready, gently open your eyes. Look around the room. Feel your connection to the physical world. Touch something solid. Feel your feet on the ground. And thank your body for doing exactly what it needed to do. This simple practice transforms crying from something you endure into something you consciously participate in. It accelerates the healing process because you are not creating resistance. And over time, it teaches you to trust your emotional system instead of fearing it. If you are someone who has been experiencing a lot of unexplained crying lately, if this has been happening more frequently than usual, I have one more thing to tell you before we close. This is probably a sign that you are going through a significant period of transformation. Your consciousness is shifting, old patterns are dying, old identities are falling away, a new version of you is being born. And birth is never painless. This process is not always comfortable. Eckhart Tolle himself went through what mystics throughout history have called the dark night of the soul before his awakening. He describes it as a period of intense suffering that preceded his breakthrough. The crying, the confusion, the feeling that nothing makes sense anymore, the sense that you are losing yourself. These are often signs that something much greater is trying to emerge. You are not breaking down. You are breaking through. The tears are clearing the way. They are washing out everything that no longer serves you. They are dissolving the old structures of your identity so that something new can emerge. They are making space for the peace, the clarity, the presence, and the joy. That is your true nature. So the next time you cry for no reason, remember this video. Remember that you are not weak. Remember that you are not broken. Remember that your body knows exactly what it is doing, and let the tears come. Welcome them as old friends. Trust them as messengers from your deepest self. Allow them to carry away everything you no longer need. Now I want to hear from you. Have you experienced this kind of stress release tears? When was the last time it happened? What did it feel like? Did anything else come up with those feelings, with those tears? Any other sensations or realizations? Share your story in the comments below. You never know, your story, your experience, might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to understand that they're not alone in this. These stress release tears, these tears that seem to come from nowhere, they're actually carrying away everything you no longer need. They are not your enemy. They are your healing. They are not your weakness. They are your strength. Trust them. They're taking you home. I want to leave you with one final thought, something that Eckhart Tolle often reminds us of. The present moment is all we ever have. And in this present moment, whatever emotion is arising is exactly what needs to arise. Your tears are not random. They are not meaningless. They are not mistakes. They are your soul, speaking a language older than words. Every culture throughout human history has recognized the power of tears. Ancient traditions saw weeping as sacred. The Greeks believed tears had healing properties. Indigenous cultures around the world have ceremonies that involve weeping as a form of spiritual cleansing. Somehow, in our modern world, we forgot this wisdom. We made crying something to be ashamed of, instead of something to be honored. But you can remember. You can choose to see your tears differently, starting right now. When the unexplained crying comes again, and it will come, greet it with gratitude. Say to yourself, something in me is healing, something in me is releasing, something in me is awakening, because that is the truth. The tears are not the problem. The tears are the cure. The tears are not what is wrong with you. The tears are what is right with you. They're proof that you're alive, that you can feel, that you're connected to something deeper than your everyday mind. You are not broken. You are healing. You are not falling apart. You are coming together in a new way. And one day, when the inner growth journey is complete, when the old pain has finally washed away, when you look back on this time in your life, you'll understand. The crying was necessary. The crying was sacred. The crying was the doorway to who you were always meant to become. Until next time, take care of yourself. Be gentle with yourself, and remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are millions of us, crying our way home. The tears know the way. Trust them.